Greetings and welcome back. As we start the second session, we are going to be engaging in a small roundtable discussion moderated by myself and my colleague Krzysztof Fenivesh from, he's in Finland and I'm in the United States. I'm Chris Brownell. It's very early in the morning here, but this is a good time to meet. I mean, it's such a great collection of people. Thank you to the two keynote speakers, very impassioned and very informative discussions. Krzysztof, would you wave and say hello to folks?
Hello, everybody. Nice to see everyone, and thanks for the very dynamic opening talks and the keynotes. It was really a pleasure to listen and see all of that. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And I'd like to go through the list of people who are joining us on the roundtable. If you would all be prepared to turn your mic on and give us a very brief 15 to 20 second introduction of yourself. And I'll just go from the slide that the picture that we used to create to advertise this. So Hannah Lee, would you say hello and greet those who are Wow, that's exciting.
Sorry.
That's good. All right.
Hello, nice to see you. I'm Rihanna. Today I participate as the first other with Dr. Jeong Kwang-soon and Kim Soo-jin. Dr. Jeong Kwang-soon as the corresponding other is professor in the Department of Elementary Education at Korean National University of Education. The presentation will be delivered by Ms. Kim Soo-jin. She is an elementary school teacher and Dr. Jeong's PhD student. I'm happy to share and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Zsolt Lavica, would you say hello and tell us a little bit about you?
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much, Chris and Krzysztof, for the meeting and for all the organizers. It's really great to have this kind of continuous STEAM discussion. So I'm sitting now in Linz in Austria in Johannes Kepler University, and I'm leading the doctoral school on STEAM education. And then we have a range of amazing group of students who are working on STEAM topics. And then of course, we have been working together with Krzysztof and Chris for a long time. And then also with Pam on great topics, and then hope we will be able to contribute well to this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kwang-soo Jeong, would you say hello? Is she here?
Unfortunately, she's out of office because of her personal issue. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you for informing us. I won't ask her for any more. Yoon-mi Kim? Kim Yoon-mi? No? No? Oh, then let's how about Seong-hae Pike? I'm sure I did not pronounce that very well. No, apparently not.
She's waving her hand, even though we cannot hear her. She's waving her hand.
Well, it's good to see her waving her hand. I'm sorry, I can't see it though. So very, very glad that you're here. Hopefully we can get your microphone situation worked out when you're ready to speak. Sujin Kim.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm a
There you
doctor
are.
student of the by the supervisor of Dr. Chong Kang-soo.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Janika Leost.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me in this really interesting conference. And I'm currently work at Tallinn University, Estonia, and my research interest is in STEAM, also educational innovation in general, and also how to bring emerging technologies in education. And my workplace is currently of being business collaboration chief specialist, and also I'm research fellow on educational robotics. Thank you.
And let me add to your very modest introduction that we have all reason to congratulate you that you became a doctor and you had a very, very successful and highly recognized PhD defense last week. So welcome, Dr. Janika Leost.
Thank you.
Dr. Janika, welcome. Go Kyung Kim.
Hello, I'm Go Kyung Kim. Nice to meet you. I'm a PhD student majoring in science and gifted at the Graduate School of Korea National University of Education, and I'm currently an elementary school teacher. I'm grateful to be with you in this honorable place. Thank you.
Thank you. We put together several questions that we sent to this wonderful panel, and I'd like to set the stage with a little brief introduction, and then ask you to free flow, chime in, and give us your thoughts regarding the questions. And so here's the stage. There exists this tension between school curricula and many of the innovations that are being proposed in regards to the teaching of creativities, both within STEAM and more broadly convergent education. These innovations appear to require a bit more flexibility than the present structures and strictures of schools. They're a little more, they require more flexibility than may be available within the structure of schools. What are your thoughts on regarding this, resolving this tension between the need for flexibility, the desire for flexibility, yet the structure and strictures of the present education system? And feel free to just chime in.
Maybe I can start.
Please.
Yes, as the same question was asked me last week at my defense. So how about this tension? And as I proposed a model how to sustain educational innovations in education, they still ask that what's the main reason why teachers don't perceive these STEAM innovations useful? Because the main reason why these innovations are not sustained is that teachers just don't feel them useful for their subject. So I would say that's the secret, the subject-based teaching and learning as our curriculum requires. When we can say, or when our educational systems can propose that transversal skills is something that every teacher is responsible to develop, then I would say that their interest using STEAM approach in their subject teaching will definitely increase. But currently, as we don't emphasize the importance of 21st century skills and transversal skills, every chemistry teacher or biology teacher or math teacher just checks her or his curriculum and says, sorry, I just don't have time playing around with your hands-on approach, and I just don't get paid for teaching these general skills. So I would say that this is the first thing, if we can overcome, and if teachers can see a wider picture, that they are responsible for the future citizens having all this creativity, convergence, and intelligence, being smarter and collaborate with machines. I would think then it will change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I can also jump in a little bit. So I think when this innovation and creativity is being approaching the schools, what we are trying to do is finding the teachers who are really creative and trying to be flexible. And I think these teachers are really stretching the limit within the system in the school. And then this kind of innovation is also spreading to other teachers. So essentially what we want to do, that in this kind of flexibility and freedom within the schools is increasing. So I think it could come from the teachers. And then also we would need to approach the policymakers, because essentially at the end, changing of policy will allow teachers for more flexibility. So I think then that's why it's very important to organize these kind of conferences, to have evidence and research and discussion about this topic. And then also we should look at the good examples that in some countries is happening. So I think Christoph could say something about Finland or Janika in Estonia, that the system is changing with probably not as fast pace as we want, but I think the education systems who are listening to educators and listening to researchers start to change the system. So from my point of view, that finding the teachers who can stretch the limits of the system could also contribute this kind of flexibility and freedom by spreading this idea. And the other is our role as researchers and educators to try to show these examples of the teachers and then show examples from other places where this kind of flexibility also happens. So I think it's coming from two directions, from within the system, from teachers and also from researchers and those who are contributing to the session. Yes.
I wonder, Sujin, do you have some thoughts on this question?
Actually, we thought our discussions from the presentation can be an overarching answer for all the questions. The tensions or conflicts between the traditional focus of curriculum and subject matter and the momentum for changes triggered by STEAM education or convergent education can be alleviated if we understand two sides as cooperating in complementing each other, not as struggling for fighting against each other. So we thought there has been a tradition treating subject matter as kind of purpose of education itself, but we believe the emergent STEAM education has changed this academic-based view, converting our perspectives that subject matter becomes the background and the greater educational purpose, such as students' creative thinking or competencies for 21st century, go to the foreground. So we believe convergent education in schooling should be dealt and considered in more purpose-centered dimensions, and the subject matter should be dealt in a process for these educational intentions. If we view their relations in this way, subject matter and convergent education are not in conflict anymore. but subject matter become the concrete contents to realize convergent education's intentions, while subject matter also realize its greater educational purposes by convergent education, which deals with problems students encounter in their daily life work.
Thank you. Thank you. So, are there other panelists who have some specific thoughts that you'd like to share? Perhaps Kim Young-mi?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me right now?
All right. Well, maybe we will move on to sort of the second set of thoughts. The next question would be, how do we juggle the apparently different pulling forces on the curriculum of skills acquisition and conceptual or cognitive development? These seem to be also in tension. If you think about trying to help students to develop very narrowly defined set of skills, but also at the same time ask them to develop the ability to think abstractly and more broadly without hindrance or being hemmed in too much by those skills. Are there thoughts on these? Oh, it looks like Young-mi Kim will not be joining us for, she has to log out and return. Well,
before we would move on to the students' perspective, one thing made me think. It's there are also teachers involved in this session, and also we have the perspective on professional development of teachers and teachers' daily practices from different countries. And what I have recognized in connection with the Korean curriculum, where STEAM is emphasized, that there were long preparatory work for this curriculum in Korea, where STEAM is emphasized, and apparently there were many groups who made studies about other countries, including Finland and US and many other countries, and it seems that Korea tried to put together this best of STEAM from different sources and also from original resources. And what I recognized that in the Korean system, there is a great emphasis on teachers' professional support. At least there is institutions and initiations for teacher development. So I wanted to ask about this, the Korean participants of the panel, that how do you see how this system is working to support individual teachers in STEAM practices, how it works in Korea? That would be my question. And also then how it works in Estonia, and how it works in other countries, maybe Europe, where Jod is more active. But first to our Korean speakers, so this teacher support in STEAM practices, how do you see how it works? So Hanna or Gokyun Kim or Youngmi Kim, any of you who's your microphone working? Can you give your opinion on that?
Oh, well, even though I'm not on the panel,
Yes.
may I?
Yes, please,
join?
please.
Because,
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
I
It's
think
welcome.
Korean participants are thinking about it, but yeah,
Yes.
but actually I'm part of the STEAM Teachers Education program. Korea National University of Education have conducted this STEAM Teachers Education program at least for 4 years now. And the Ministry of Education is really supportive and very systematic because they provide the basic level and the advanced level. Currently, we are offering the basic level of STEAM education for STEAM teachers every year. And the Korean Institute, KAIST, which is a really, really good technological institution in Korea, is offering the advanced level of STEAM education now. It is really the government is really supportive and very, very systematic in terms of devising the whole program. But I think it's still difficult for teachers, elementary school teachers and middle and high school teachers to really integrate different subjects content into STEAM. That is really, really big challenge. But I think it is getting better and better because it is really spreading. The STEAM education is really spreading, and the national curriculum is currently being revised now. And the new 2022 national curriculum will be issued next year. And I think that right now STEAM is not, of course, STEAM is not a separate subject. So it is not a part of national curriculum. But I believe that at least for the high school national curriculum, it will be, the convergent education will be included. I don't know under which name, but mostly, because the government have put a lot of effort into STEAM education and STEAM teachers education, I think this convergent education will be the form of STEAM.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of elementary school teachers, they are doing actually STEAM at school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is quite optimistic now, but very difficult, I think, for teachers to do a lot of things at the same time.
I see. And as I see the titles of the contributions in this panel, I think we will hear more about these concrete examples very soon. Before that, I would like to ask Jani Kaleosta that how do you see support offered for in-service teachers in Estonia?
Thank you. I just made some notes, and maybe you don't know, but as Estonia is a so small country, we have only 1.3 million inhabitants and 600 schools and 600 kindergartens. 100% of our educational institutions are equipped with STEAM equipment, several, so 100%. And also we have several supporting programs, but as you mentioned, and as Zolt also mentioned, that we mostly benefit from these enthusiastic teachers. So we can't say that 100% of Estonian teachers in kindergarten and general education are using STEAM kits regularly. And the main reasons for that is are twofold. On the one hand, it's the methodological issues. So how to teach, and for that, the Estonian schools have hired educational technologists. So they are not teachers, but the educational technologist is a person who helps teacher in the classroom with technical issues, because there are always technical issues or building issues. There are always there. But on the other hand, we also face didactical challenges. So what is the content that will be taught through these methods? And from this perspective, Estonia has on-running programs and competitions where teachers will be awarded if they produce open educational resources about STEAM, and they make them available in a national open educational resources repository. And I would say that these programs are highly engaging for the teachers. And also we support teachers from university perspective, and also we have other governmental training institutions that Estonian teachers will get all these type of training courses for free, and sometimes they are even longitudinal, supporting to the professional development. And we just made changes in requirements, how you should be educated in digital skills level when you are a teacher. And I would say that as it became mandatory just now, that you have to have these several levels of digital skills when you're a teacher, then I would say that dealing with STEAM in the classroom also contributes. But coming back to curriculum, when we use STEAM kits, the learning happens in a slower pace, and that's nothing teachers are not satisfied. And also I would say that the autonomy, we can talk about the students' autonomy and personalized learning path. That is a main priority right now in Estonia. But once again, we can talk about it, but how to achieve it, I would say it requires practice communities and support from governmental and political institutions. Thank you.
So the innovation should be based on the practices that how it accepted. Yes, exactly. Yes, Chris.
Yes, Go Kyung, you make a very interesting point in the chat. Could you please expand on that and give us some of the more nuanced ideas around your thoughts?
I need some time, please.
I'm sorry, you need some time?
Yes. I checked my opinions. It's okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you mind speaking them? Or
yes, I want to chat. Yes.
Okay. So you would just prefer to type them? Okay. So let me, in case folks haven't seen it, let me read what you've written. You say that STEAM education became an issue at first in the Korean education field, but when it did, many teachers participated and tried to practice it, but the limitations appeared little by little. And now many teachers are teaching STEAM education under the name of reorganizing the curriculum. You say there are still many people who are working hard on STEAM education, even though they may be doing so under a different name. Is that do I capture your thoughts fairly well?
I think you did.
Okay. Okay.
That's my opinion. And Zsolt, you are coordinating many projects focusing on teachers' professional development in Europe in connection with STEAM. What's your impression about these projects and also about the local policies? So there is the European policies, but also there are the countries. So are these projects are enough, or there should be more coming also from the countries where the national curricula are implemented? So because I feel there is some kind of discrepancy between the European policy level and also the country level in connection with STEAM and this project-based learning and many of these elements. And there are so big differences between the different countries, even within Europe. Europe is very small, but there are very big differences still. What's your take on that, George?
Yeah, so I think my impression is that it's being talked more about than being done things. So it looks that then there is now STEAM is becoming very fashionable, and also people are talking about STEAM. And then if we are looking at the European policy, then STEAM is everywhere. And then also the European Commission is giving these kind of initiatives for STEAM education, for grants, and so on. So we are running many of these kind of grants. But of course, these are initiatives by the EU, but the states are deciding that how to do this. And then my impression is that some countries are really don't care about this, but some countries start to talk about these kind of issues, but they don't really know what to do with this. And I think there are some countries like yours and then also Janica who are much more ahead of in this kind of integration. But for example, talking about Austria, I think that the ministry and then some foundations in the ministry recognize that STEAM education is important, and then they try to push an agenda, but it's not yet in the school. But I think now, because of COVID, the integration of technology has become more a urgent issue, and then that is pushing a little bit behind the STEAM initiatives and this collaborative work. But I think based on this, that based on the availability of technology and then the support with the technology, when these resources and support is settling, I think STEAM comes back much more in power. But I think it's coming back in parallel too with technology initiatives, because technology could make STEAM education much more feasible for the schools, for the teachers, and for the students as well. So what I'm observing now is that there is lots of talk about STEAM. There are lots of initiatives on the ground, but the two is not yet fully merged. But I think it's coming from both directions, from the policy level and then also from the research level. But my impression is that the direction is good. And then we have some projects for technology integration. And I think in this kind of merging of policy and also local initiatives and research is closing the gap. When it will happen, we don't really know, but I think that we know that the direction, but we don't really know the acceleration yet.
All right. Yes, these are absolutely important perspectives to consider. And also, Go Kyung Kim just adding that there are many teachers who are more excited to reorganize the curriculum and reform the curriculum, and not necessarily about STEAM. So of course you can use STEAM also as the motive or as the background for curriculum reorganization. But there can be also differences that what the policy understands about STEAM and how this term is used. What does it mean? And is it the same meaning or the same direction also for the teachers? So that's also important, that what do we mean by these terms, and what the curriculum reform means, and reorganization of the curriculum, and what STEAM is meaning. Is STEAM only science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, or we use it as a synonym of reorganization of the curriculum with innovative methods? So there are many directions here. But to get closer also to concrete cases, to some exact examples, I saw that our speakers also prepared with some short presentations to introduce some cases. Maybe you prepared for a little bit longer presentation, but I would like to ask you to make a 5 minutes summary each of these presentations. So let's start with these exploring issues occurred in STEAM educations, focusing on the second grade STEAM class in a Korean elementary school. Okay, so please, if you want to share your screen, if you have slides, please try to give a 5 minutes summary of your contribution. Yes.
I'll share the.
Until you prepare, I would like to ask also the next speakers in the row to be ready for the similar short presentations. So prepare your slides. And now we have 5 minutes to each of these cases. Thanks a lot. Please start, dear.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's our great privilege to have this opportunity. The presentation will be divided into 2 sections about the case and the discussions we made. So in Korea in 2019, the government mandated STEAM education to be conducted in schools, and the teachers had 2 options to use other institutions' sample lessons, or just a set core curriculum for science and then integrate other subjects. But then Dr. Lee was working at H Elementary School, which was a leading school for STEAM education designated by the government. Thought that those 2 options were not applicable for her class, so she decided to develop her own STEAM class for second grade. First, she searched for ways to develop her class based on the students' characteristics and the integrated curriculum. The development process started for selecting a topic for STEAM class with students. She selected the topic Make a Better Village, which was derived from students' daily interest. Next, a class was set up for students to solve problems they found. And then she matched standard and subject matter for the STEAM class so that the class can be covered by the designated period of time in curriculum. So during the lesson 1, you can see in the technological and social 6 groups of 4 students discussed how they can make a better village based on they explored and experienced. And as a result, the problem statement were selected with the 6 villages. And in the next lesson 2, students explored way to solve problems of their group to level up their village, and they designed things, facilities, and machines, and installed the models into the village maps. And for the last activity, they presented ways of their own with class and exchange feedbacks. Students discussed how to improve their ways to level up the village with other students. And these are the products of the class. This group came up with a smart emergency phone, a safe robot for street safeguard crosswalk, and a scout drone to level up their village. So the students' ideas for a better village was presented in a practical way. With Dr. Lee's case, some issues were drawn with STEAM education in schooling in Korean context, that STEAM education is now entering into routinization stage over introduction stage in Korea. STEAM education now needs to find a way to become class routines from being one-time special events in schooling. So we suggest two implications about this matter. First, teachers need support to convert their views of STEAM education from methods to purpose-oriented dimensions. Second, a curriculum space for STEAM education is needed in schooling. First, until now, STEAM education in Korea was led by government with top-down process of introducing it in schools. In this mandate situation, teachers needed more methodological support and information to conduct STEAM education. Thus, the research has focused more on methodological approach. However, this may lead teachers to simply view STEAM education as teaching methods, ignoring its purpose. As 10 years has passed since the introduction of STEAM education in Korea, now it's time to move on from simply applying STEAM education in schools to realizing the educational intentions of STEAM education in practice, providing students with more opportunities for creative and convergent thinking, which we believe as STEAM education's purposes. For this, STEAM education is to come up with plans for converting approaches from methods toward purposes. Second, a curriculum space is needed to establish STEAM education as class routines in schooling, which means we need to secure class time for STEAM education in the curriculum. In Korea, schooling means completing the national curriculum. With this, teachers need to use curricular periods or extracurricular periods from the curriculum to practice STEAM education in classrooms. So far, teachers mostly use extracurricular periods for STEAM classes, especially the creative experience activity time. This approach has own merits that STEAM education's purpose can be a focus, but it can be resulted as one-time special events. On the other hand, if STEAM class is conducted in relation with other subject matter, then chances are like STEAM education become more routinized. However, this can limit teachers' autonomy to try various things. So this hinders greatly the STEAM education's intentions to be realized. But Dr. Lee's case of STEAM classes was developed in a relation with subject matter, but that she could guarantee the STEAM class continuity to realize the STEAM education's intentions, because she has interpretively used the integrated curriculum from the national curriculum to conduct her STEAM classes. Moreover, if teachers can use match standards of certain subjects to the already designed STEAM class rather than designing STEAM class to meet the standards of certain subjects, STEAM education can be a starting point to develop and implement lessons. So to conclude, as we can see from Dr. Lee's case, we made calls for STEAM education in Korea to convert teachers' views toward purpose and to make a curriculum space to move toward the routinization stage in schooling. Thank you, and really appreciate it.
Wow, so many important points, and I think your presentation really caught this important turning point from many aspects. That although STEAM is here, we heard about it, we have seen wonderful examples, many teachers and more teachers are enthusiastic about it, but still there is this turning point now, and it's very sensitive moment, that how we make it from the method to the purpose, and also how to contribute to autonomy, and all those points what you listed very carefully, and you condensed in this very brief format. I really hope that we can read also your contribution in the proceedings or somewhere else, so that would be so important to see this more in detail. Thanks a lot. So let's move on to many examples to modeling. There is a modeling example from 4th grade elementary school students in Korea. Could you please also summarize in this brief format? Go Kyung Kim, Sang Hye Park.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Yes. Screen is here. Wonderful.
Okay. The presentation order is as follows: scientific literacy, cooperative learning, and my research. We just have 5 minutes, so I introduce my research. Okay. Okay. There was time to study the weight of objects in the science unit. One of the main contents of the unit was to balance the gravity of the object. While thinking about what could be easily accessible to students, a seesaw came to mind. I asked the students how to balance their weight while riding a seesaw. All the students knew how to balance their weight at the seesaw, so I asked the students the following questions. Let's design your one new seesaw by applying how to balance the gravity of the seesaw. I gave students enough time to search and then let them design their one seesaw. There are some seesaws designed by students. You can see that most students have raised their support points. In fact, even if the support points does not affect the balance of gravity of the seesaw. So I judged that students were having difficulty expressing the knowledge they learned through their bodies with scientific knowledge. And I also found out that students had scientific errors. To solve these problems, I made a seesaw model with the students using the 4D frame. The reason why I used a modeling tool called the 4D frame is because in the process of creative problem solving, modeling can change students' concepts and deepen their understanding. And the modeling makes the structure and the consistency of scientific knowledge clearer and helps students understand scientific knowledge more easily. First, the existing seesaw model was created and the balance of gravity was tested. Next, like the new seesaw model designed by the students, the seesaw model was created by raising the support point, and an experiment was conducted to balance the weight. Through the two experiments, the students found that there was no correlation between holding the balance of gravity of the seesaw and encouraging the support point. Then I asked what is important for the balance of gravity of the seesaw. Students experimented with their one seesaw models. I gave an example to help students find scientific knowledge. I could balance the seesaw when 3 tires first place and 1 tire third place. We promised to call a black ball-shaped object a tire. Holding the balance of gravity is indicated by the equal symbol. I asked, similarly, can you balance the weight of the seesaw? A few minutes later, some students could find it and say, 2 tires, second point, 5th place, equal 1 tire, 5th place. 2 tires, second place, equal 4 tires, first place. I asked again, which math symbol would make the left and the right call? The student quickly came up with a multiplication sign. Students were able to discover scientific principles on how to balance the gravity of seesaw through modeling experiments. It is weight multiple distance from the support point. I did an experiment with building a mobile to make sure the students corrected scientific errors. Some students still had scientific errors, but they could be corrected again through the mobile experiment. Lastly, I tried to create an amusement park with students that contains the principle of weight control. Through modeling-based experiment, students were able to correct scientific errors on their own and create wonderful amusement parks containing scientific principles. As a result of interviews with students, it is confirmed that through this series of processes, students' scientific literacy was cultivated and improved more than before. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. This is excellent, and what great visuals you had. That's an important study too. Thanks a lot, Chris. Just typing to me that wow, this is great.
This is a very cool study. I'm very excited by this. Well done.
Thanks.
Pressing on into the modeling and turning the models into reality as well. Very nice.
Absolutely, and I hope we can read it more in details. And this discussion is also to look for collaboration, to start new collaborative research projects. So it's very good to see your examples, and I think we would be really happy to bring these directions forward in upcoming studies too. Korea and other parts of the world could be involved. So now the floor is for Youngmi Kims, who will talk about the geography education connection and modeling.
Oh, is it working? Can you hear me? Finally?
Yeah, we hear
you.
you.
I'm so
wonderful.
glad.
Bravo. Welcome. Please share your screen and and enjoy your 5 minutes now. It's good going.
I will keep the time. So I hope you can see the screen.
Yes.
Is it
we
working?
can.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to explain. Yes, I'm going to explain the model-based teaching in geography education. So I'm going to skip the part. Let's see this picture. This picture, can you see the picture on the right side? So
yes.
There are like dots. So blue dots, it means like a big city, and empty dots, it is small city, or like low order goods and services, such as like newspaper stalls, grocery markets, bakeries. They can be all around. But when you want to make a shopping mall, you need to be really careful because people should visit there so they can survive. So you need to determine where you're going to put new shopping mall. So new shopping mall will be the blue dots. But as you can see, it has like mathematical laws based on like modeling. But for students who are not familiar with this mathematics, they don't want to calculate. They just memorize this picture as a whole. So when they solve the problem, so they don't follow the rules. So they just remember what they just remind themselves of what they remember. So they just put the dots based on their memorization rather than understanding the model. So what we thought is it's really difficult to visualize with just this paper, with this picture on the paper. So what we designed was let students make this model by using 40Frame. So this was a hands-on activity. So this picture is really hard to understand because everything, every like a big center or the small center, intermediate center, sub-centers, they are like really connected. So it's really hard to understand. So what we designed was like make it separated. So by making this big hexagon or like green, smaller hexagon and the smallest hexagon. So by making this, they can manipulate. So they can make their own hexagons, and then they can try where should like big shopping mall goes or where should the small shopping mall go. So they can finally visualize by moving around, by putting it together, or by separating apart. So that's what we aimed. But this kind of activity, this kind of model activity has not been done in Korean because, as you know, like in the Korean, there is education fever all over, like crazy about the task rather than truly understanding the concept. So we wanted to make pre-service teacher in geography education experience of like making model, experience the beauty of making model. So we want pre-service teachers in geography education truly experience this modeling process, and then we wanted them use this in their future teaching. So that's what we aim. So we are in the process of collecting data. So what we wanted is like this visual aids, like this hands-on activity can be their learning affordances. So like, we believe this modeling activity will be really efficient and effective learning skill. We also think it helps improve their creative thinking skills because just by memorizing the picture, they cannot create their own model, but they understand the model truly. They can finally create their own models. That's what we aim. So by experiencing this kind of activity in their pre-service teacher training course, we hope they can use this tool in their like future teaching. So that's we tried. So this is the end, and thank you for listening. This is the end.
Thank you so much, Youngmi Kim. And as far as I understand, this approach also connected on many ways of how, for example, GPS systems are working, and also it goes back to the tradition of triangulation and many connections. And I think it's super important that whenever we have the device in our hand, but we need to have also some understanding that what's the logic, how it works. It's not magic, but there is also scientific background behind it, and this is very eye-opening, I think, even for a geography teacher to find out also this geometrical connections and the background between. So it's very important, and thanks a lot also for this excellent experiment what you came up. I hope we will also find some opportunities to compare your data with other countries, maybe in Indonesia, maybe. I know that there is a great group of Indonesian teachers are here, and Farida Nur Hashana also contributed to the conversation, that teachers there are very much interested in STEM and STEAM, and they have a great network. Also, I guess geography teachers also involved, and this math and geography could be an exciting point. So we must talk about that later. But now let's move on to Janika Leoste. So your short example from Estonia. Please, Janika. Are you still here with us, Janika? Until we got back, Janika, Zsolt, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Could you please introduce some examples? You have a lot of examples from your program. Maybe you selected just a few or one from this wonderful collection.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
I need to share my screen. And
yeah, we see your screen. It's now your browser.
Okay.
Yes,
so
now
I
your
just,
presentation. Great, thanks.
I just chose some selection of materials, and then as I mentioned earlier, then that we are doing lots of different research on STEAM education, and we are trying to have different approaches, and then one of them is connecting the physical and the digital world, and then we are using different kind of technologies like augmented reality and 3D printing, 3D scanning to visualize objects in physical and in digital forms, and in this way we will be able to connect other disciplines. So I would like to give you some examples on connecting architecture and then physical and digital connections. So we are working with Shireen in Egypt to show some of the connections of Egyptian architecture, and then also we can extend it to other architecture models that whole students can model these ideas with different technologies, and then how we can connect it to STEAM education. So we are developing a platform together to make this kind of connection. So in that case, then the student or the teacher so the teachers can decide that what kind of culture or artistic aspects they want to show, and then connect with the technology. And we are looking at different kind of cultures, and then within that we can choose architecture and then use this kind of architecture modeling. And afterwards, the teacher can decide what kind of digital tools they want to use, whether GeoGebra, AR, VR, 3D printing, 3D scanning, and then so on. And then also from the physical space. And then it's also possible that we are developing resources which can be done in outdoor or in the classroom, in the museum. Actually, Shireen is just giving a talk in the new Egyptian museum, which is very impressive. So in 2 weeks, we'll have some data from the museum. And then doing this kind of modeling with the students, either from pictures or on the spot to do the modeling with augmented reality or with GeoGebra 3D. And then afterwards, we will be able to do the printouts of these kind of models, and then students can learn artistic elements, cultural elements, and also the digital and physical worlds of this. We are doing this kind of modeling in a different form. We use a software called MedCityMap, and then Ben Hasm, our other colleague in Luxembourg, is working with kids in the classroom. So they are just going around in their cities and then do modeling with augmented reality, different buildings, and then they print it in the classroom, and then they have the teacher is helping them to make these connections. And with the MedCityMaps and then all of these connections, we will be able to develop mathematical trails in the cities. So I don't know if you use MedCityMap or you know about MedCityMaps. It's possible to use a GPS method. It's like geocaching, that you give the students some locations and then some kind of topics in this kind of. So the students take their phone, use the app, go around the city, and then they are solving mathematical problems within the city, connecting with the culture, the history, the architecture, and other things. And probably you know my colleague Kyung in Korea. We just published a very nice paper together on this architecture modeling with Shireen and Ben. And then we are trying to do it with Korean architecture. And then we are working on many ideas how we could include in this kind of cultural elements with technology and other resources. And I think in the previous talks, you met Noah Dana-Picard, with whom we also looking at the cultural elements of mathematics. So we are looking at patterns, poetry, and different cultures, and then of course architecture as well, to do this kind of modeling in the Israeli culture, and then also across Europe in different places as well. So maybe I think that is enough. I have some other examples on using the same kind of principles on games, but I think then that is enough to give an idea that how we can make the physical and the digital connections possible in the classroom, connecting it with all other subjects.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zsolt. And just as you pointed out, Kim Sik will be also a speaker of this conference, just like Noah Dana-Picard and Sarah Herskovits and so many other references you made. We have also Carla Pinto just entered recently in the conversation. Carla, would you like to add something on this point?
Oh, no. Hi, hello to all. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry for not connecting the video right now, but I will do it in a few minutes. Thank you so much for all of these nice talks and all of these good examples of how STEM can be applied in our classrooms. And that's all for now. Thank you, Zsolt. It's also always a pleasure to listen to your talks. Thank you, Chris.
So Carla will be also a speaker of the conference later, and actually she's very active, also organizing STEAM movements and putting out a lot of research papers, also as an editor in Open Studies journal. So thanks a lot for being with us. And I think we are reaching the end of this session. And I would like to give back the floor to Chris. Chris, do you have some closing question for this session, or a conclusion, what you would like to offer us in the end of this session?
I would thank you, Krzysztof, for that. Yes, I'm really impressed with the number of and the high quality of these studies that are being undertaken to incorporate both modeling and other forms of STEAM embodiments to get at this idea of connecting types of reasoning, whether it be visual and abstract, or just creating physical models to get at large concepts. I'm really interested to read these papers and see how the students are coming through and getting and developing their own voice in these ideas. This is very exciting news, and I appreciate everybody's hard work and efforts to bring these to pass. So yes, I agree with you. I think we are now at about the end, unless there are other comments from people who are in attendance.
Yeah, I think our chat line had also some messages. Some of them was private messages, but also many public messages as well, about collaborations between different countries, different researchers, different teachers from various locations around the globe, and I think that was actually the goal of this discussion, of this round table. Let's hope it becomes an icebreaker. And
Yes.
and I really hope that this conversational spirit will get more and more space in the ICAS conference. And we have also a lot of examples from teachers, from schools, and many perspectives can be involved. Yeah, also, in addition to the research and policy perspective, this is very important to have these many layers included, and also to be critical about this. Just as in the first presentation, I really loved these many angles that how this turning point has been introduced. So thanks a lot for everyone for joining this session. We wish you a very successful conference in the upcoming time. I think many things are just coming now, and also take some rest before the next session. I think there are many things ahead of us. So thanks a lot, Chris, also for leading this session, and also the organizers for providing space for this conversation. Thank you a lot. And now I think we are heading now towards the break, and our chair can let us know that when should we gather again. Thank you a lot. Goodbye.
Goodbye, all.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.